Liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Chris, do you want to call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Alvey. Mr. Dean.
Present.
Mr. Donahue.
Present.
Mr. Housley. Mr. Hines, I'm here. Mr. Montgomery.
Present.
Mr. Pollock.
Present.
Mr. Record. Mr. Ripley.
Here.
Mr. Frost.
Here.
Mr. Glister.
Present.
Mr. Reidenbach.
Here.
Miss Easton.
Here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Borough resident and taxpayer comments. We have none. So for the next item, that's consider approval of the minutes for the regular meeting that was held September 23rd, 2025.
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Motion by Jeff to accept the minutes as accepted. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is communications. Chris.
Communications. Resolution number 36-2025. Planning Commission approval of a preliminary and final subdivision plan known as S-4-2025. Jefferson United Presbyterian Church subdivision, approved on September 23rd, 2025.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Next item on the agenda is pre-application advisory presentations, and we have none. So we'll go to old business, consider recommendation to council for a preliminary and land development plan known as SP-1-2024 Turbovich Garage Building located at Cherry Street, lot and block number 881-P-121, owned by Ned Turbovich. The property is zoned MU. The applicant wishes to construct a 3,500 square foot warehouse with access drive off Cherry Street with 4 parking spaces, utility connections, and an underground stormwater management facility. End of the extended 90-day review period is December 20th, 2025. I have received via Erica a request for tabling for this month. So I'll entertain that motion. Motion by Chris to table. Second.
Second.
Second by Carrie. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is consider approval for a preliminary and final minor subdivision known as S-5-2025. It's Abelio Plan Number 1, located at 4th Street, Jefferson Hills, lot and block 1274-R-185, owned by Felino Salvatore Abelio and Heather Sipos Abelio. The property is zone R2. The applicant wishes to subdivide tax parcel 1274-R-185 for conveyance of a parcel of ground to the adjoining property to encompass existing encroachments in exchange for an access easement across through the unimproved 4th Street right-of-way, previously recorded and abandoned by time. End of the 90-day review period is November 25th, 2025. Tom.
Engineer Surveyor Niall Barton. Zoning report and Allegheny County review comments previously attached. Engineering report comments attached. This plan is recommended for approval based on Gateway Engineers review dated October 23rd, 2025. Mark?
Yep. So, in summary, the applicant provided a revised plan. Based on the comments that we had through our discussion with their attorney, their surveyor, myself, and Carrie Frost, solicitor, going through what we saw as a couple different issues. First was revising the subdivision to be an addition to Lot 102 rather than creating what was a small non-conforming lot. That was one of the large issues. But then also showing that the portion of 4th Street beyond the improved asphalt cartway, showing that the center line to the center line on each of the adjoining properties of the prior right-of-way as being relinquished of ownership from the borough. So that reflects for parcels 3, parcels 4, and parcel number 1. And number 1's being shown correctly, being the entire track of the Obilios have there at the end of 4th Street, or what was the end of 4th Street. So, in summary, I think this was a little complicated for a minor subdivision plan with some particular issues that need to be revised. I applaud the applicant and the patience that they have, and we were able to get this done. I don't see anything else here on the plan that needs to be revised, and it's stays here, and it's recommended for approval.
Okay, is there any other staff comments? Any other ones? Okay. Okay, you want to come up and say something if you need to?
Hello.
Hello.
Was there a question for me, or?
Well, I'll ask the commission. Do you have any questions? Anybody here? Guess we resolved that last month. So if there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Approve it.
I make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Jeffrey to approve, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Chris. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consider a recommendation to council for a preliminary and final minor subdivision known as S-6-2024-25. Dowling subdivision plan located at 1000 Guildhall Road, Jefferson Hills, lot and block 1006-L-240, owned by Dowling Properties Incorporated. The property zone MU. The applicant wishes to subdivide tax parcel 1006-L-240 into 2 lots, 1 parcel and 1 50-foot right-of-way. End of the 90-day review period is December 22nd, 2025. Tom.
Engineer Surveyor J.R. Gales and Associates. The zoning report and Allegheny County review comments previously attached. Engineering report comments attached. This plan is recommended for approval based on Gateway Engineers review dated October 23rd, 2025. Mark?
Okay. Thanks, Tom. So similar to the last application, this one in the review that we discussed last meeting, the applicant has revised the plan. Instead of between lots 1 and 2 being a reserved right-of-way, which would be a separate lot, is now a easement that is in joint. It's shared jointly by lots 1 and 2 for access, ingress, regress into the Guildhall Road. Also, that with that easement, it takes away the non-conforming lot that would have been created by Lot 1 by fronting on a right-of-way. That if the right-of-way were there, and I think the other things that we had in our comment letter were pretty minor in general, and I think what the Allegheny County ACED had in their comment letter have been addressed as well. I think the big takeaway is that this is complying with the zoning ordinance, complying with our development, our subdivision and land development ordinance, and is recommended for approval. And this one does stay here as well too. So it's
It doesn't go to council?
we have 3 lots, so no, it does go to council.
Yeah, that's a
my fault.
recommendation to council. Right?
My fault.
That's all right. Any other staff questions, comments? Do you want to come up? Anybody who wants to speak? Anybody? No questions? Okay. Any questions from the commission for them, the Dowlings? No. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to recommend to council.
I'll
You wanna
issue the
make that-
motion.
The motion to recommend to council?
Yeah.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. That's Chris, Kevin. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is new business. We have none. General business, comprehensive plan recommendation, review. We talked about this last month, so. Jenny, it's up to you.
Thank you. So the comprehensive plan is a long-range playbook for prosperity, ultimately to be considered for adoption by Borough Council based on priorities identified through public engagement. So what residents told us would be the most important issues for the borough to focus on during the next 10 years. So that's how the recommendations document, which is in draft form, is organized around these 5 or 6 key issues. The recommendations are from Pashik MTR strategies that, in our professional judgment, advance those key issues in a balanced, financially responsible, sustainable way. But ultimately, the borough owns the plan. We want it to be implementable and practical and contain only things that you think are feasible, that council believes can be accomplished within the next 10 years. So at last month's meeting, we distributed the draft recommendations. I have copies if anybody needs another paper edition. And tonight, my goal would be to continue discussion. We are not looking for a formal recommendation to council at this time on recommendations, but we're working on the larger plan document. There's a really nice, kind of glossy, graphics-forward version of this that includes all of the context in the background and the detailed action steps the borough would need to take to deliver on the recommendations. But before we finalize that draft document in its longer form, we wanted to make sure that we are on the right track and kind of ground truth the recommendations as they stand in draft form. So I know we had a couple topics come up last time. I wonder if anything jumps foremost to mind. Are there any recommendations in particular that members wish to discuss?
You don't do
Well, I discussed my issue last month.
it. You can do it again.
Yes, I have the notes. Appreciate that.
Well, okay, my issue is with the stormwater. Okay, and I know elected officials don't like to have to put the taxes up, but, okay, if you put a fee, it isn't gonna affect me really one way or the other. But there's a lot of homes that I know the people itemize their deductions on their taxes. If that stormwater is in with your property taxes, they at least get some sort of a little bit of a tax break over paying a fee that you can't take off your taxes. That's my issue.
That's one part of it. And how, I guess my concern was what way Mount Lebanon does it with the square footage of the roof and the driveways and all the impervious surfaces, which can get pretty expensive. And,
But how much is it gonna cost you to determine that on every single property?
oh, I don't
in the
know.
borough?
That's a
I
good
mean,
point.
that would cost millions probably.
That would be very expensive. I guess there may be some things on the county website, but the driveways aren't, I'm sure, and you have to count all that. That may not be, I would say that my thoughts on that if we get into acid mine drainage, yeah, we're gonna have to find a way, if we get forced into that. But right now, we can seem to do it okay, the way it is, with millage covering MS4. But MS4, it all depends on what DEP does with it.
Yes.
We don't know what that is gonna be. And I'm sure Gateway doesn't know. You don't know either.
They can't even update their own permit regulations, so well, I don't know which way they're going to go.
Because there was talk of acid mine drainage being dumped on the municipalities, which is insane. I mean, the amount of cost that we would have to incur, that's an unfounded mandate to the max.
Yeah, and this policy, or the way it's structured in different communities, is a response to that. So looking out over the long term, it's a tool that's available to the borough. So if council ultimately decides to have it in the plan in some form, it wouldn't require council to implement anything. But it might be prudent, given the long-range nature of the plan, to have some background about it or ideas about how it could work, if that's something that council at some point chooses to do.
You want something?
I just had a quick question. I don't know, I'm the engineer, I'm Steve Lerman from Jared Gels, and Surveyors put this together. I didn't know nothing about it. They're asking, the clients are asking me. It has to go to the council for the next process for the approval. What is that process? Do you know, are we like in the meeting November 5th or 10th, or what's going on with that?
The November council meeting schedule is, our agenda meeting is November 5th, and then our voting meeting is November 10th. Typically, for a plan like this, I mean, you're going there because this plan is creating a lot, so anytime a new lot's created, it has to go in front of council. I mean, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to to be at one of those meetings. If I was to be at one, it would be at the 5th,
Okay.
in case there's any questions. But typically on a plan like this, we don't see really many questions, at that meeting.
So is it be approved then, or something?
The approval wouldn't happen till the 10th of November.
Right, show it to those committees. Okay, well, thank you.
But the 5th is when they would discuss it. If there was anything they wanted to know, the discussion's on the 5th, and the voting meeting's on the 10th.
All right, well, thank you.
So how do we get on to that 5th? Do we have to call Erica to get on it? or-
It'll be automatic, yeah.
It's
That'll
autom-
be
it'll
Yeah,
be
you don't
on the
have to
agenda.
worry about that. It'll
Okay.
go on, and they'll take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll automatically be on the agenda and up for consideration.
Once it goes through here, it goes right to them.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Okay, Jenny, sorry about that, but
No trouble. No, I'm glad they didn't wait until this discussion had run its course. So I think if ultimately we determine or council determines that some discussion about this option for a stormwater fee be included, it would be with consideration of these caveats that you all mentioned, that, in making that future decision, here are the things that future council needs to consider.
the planning commission never recommends taxing, or, ours is land use, basically. Not taxation. That's a councilmatic thing. And I don't want to get into, I'm
Yeah,
just
certainly.
speaking for myself as a planning commission member, I don't want to start that.
Quite
But,
fair.
On the, one thing about the trees, were you thinking about a shade tree commission on that, the first thing on the green space? Because that's what, other communities have. That's be on the first item. Because all this green, to maintain, who's gonna maintain all these trees?
Dave, do you have an extra one that we could share or something?
Yeah.
'Cause we don't have any. Thank you.
No, I have more copies.
Who doesn't have one down there?
I have two.
I got an extra one.
We could use another one then.
Here.
We didn't get a nice one.
Yeah.
this last
Okay, on the first item, that's on the trees, who's gonna, how's that all gonna get done? I just wondered, do you have how does that done in other communities? I guess would be the question.
In terms of our, the increased tree protection we're considering
Yeah.
for the Saldo,
Yeah, how do you do all that?
a lot of that would not be actively maintained. So we are limiting the amount of woodlands that could be mowed down when
Okay.
new development comes in. So the woodlands would exist just kind of as green space without a requirement for anybody to prune trees or anything like that.
Okay, like in a neighborhood, how would you, what do you do with trees? Everything has to have an HOA here.
Yes, right.
So,
So if we do, if we require, if we
How's that-
increase landscaping requirements,
Yeah,
it would be the responsibility of the HOA to maintain them. Usually it's for a certain number of years until the vegetation's established. So they would be
Okay.
responsible for watering in a drought, or if those plants die within a certain amount of time, replacing the plants.
okay. So that would, but areas where you don't have HOAs, then assuming, what do you do then?
So there are landscaping requirements in the zoning ordinance, and the responsibility is on the property owner to plan for whatever the ordinance requires and comply with the maintenance requirements. So that pertains primarily to commercial development where it has some kind of landscaping or buffer that is required. And the ordinance does include some standards for how that needs to be maintained. The ordinance, I don't believe, requires anything specific on an individual residential lot. So the borough is not dictating what somebody needs to plant in their yard or how they need to
Okay,
maintain that.
okay. Well, I was wondering how that was.
Yeah, it's a good question.
On this paper streets, who's responsible for the paper streets, I guess? Is that the borough's responsibility, or is that, when they get old, when they get, I don't know. It said we can reopen paper streets. I just wondered how does that work? That's on the second page. third page, I guess.
Item E on the bottom, page 2.
So I think it's speaking in a larger sense there, Dave, of,
E.
of trying to develop some kind of connectiveness if we're talking about a trail system,
Yeah.
being able to even anything walkable. In this case, I think speaking in the general sense, the opportunities for borough streets, go away, or opening a paper street go away after a certain period of time. The idea is we don't have anything inventoried as far as what the opportunity could be. So I think
Okay.
from the high level sense, this is just pointing out that in other similar communities, such as Jefferson Hills, that trying to have more interconnectedness, more of that ability to have a walkable community, that this would be part of the process of what would it be to do that.
Okay. Tom, what about that, you always talk about beams right now. Is there paper streets that lead into that, or what?
Well, there were, but we had spoken to Mike about that, and it's been more than 21 years since that was abandoned, so those rights revert back to the adjacent property owners.
Now, which street are we talking about? Pearson?
Pearson, yeah.
Yeah. What about, is that the one you were going to use to get to Beams Run Valley?
Yeah.
Pearson, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was here when we abandoned that. So I had to go walk it, and they said, well, we're going
Yeah,
to
that'll-
reopen it. And then they said, no, we changed our mind. So, okay, that answers that. Yeah, on the next item, on partnership with the school district, is that, well, I guess like my thought would be, are they gonna use the pool for the public? Is
I
that,
think that would be a good idea. Most communities do that.
I know they do. Why we don't do it here, I don't know. There must be a
Does the
reason.
public utilize the football field?
No.
That's a no.
Why is the pool a no?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying as an example,
Okay.
the borough has a difficult time utilizing the football field, whether it's in times of the season or not. So it doesn't surprise me that the pool is regulated in the same way.
Does anybody down there know? Mike, do you know? Because I'm just wondering why the pool isn't, I used to want a pool. I used to hear about this all the time. Now, we have a pool, but we don't use it for the public. I don't understand it, because other communities, they use it round the clock. The high school pools are,
It's one of the most used facilities in
Yeah.
the school district in generally.
yeah.
At West Mifflin, my son was a member of the South Hills Aquatics, and when he was there, they were talking that they were going to build the high school here with the pool, and he was excited about moving South Hills Aquatics here from West Mifflin, and that I don't think ever happened because the pool, there's not access for the public to use the pool, maybe an hour or two once a week. So it's definitely underutilized.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's something wrong with it, or why this isn't done. I don't know. But I read this, I'm thinking, well, that's the prime example, is the pool at the high school. That's what else I read down. On the storm sewer fee, how does that work? Or because we had a storm sewer fee once for storm sewers, and it was challenged by a developer, and we had to pull it back. His solicitor at the time said we couldn't do it. That's right underneath the growing recreation facilities. Does anybody know about that? Or why? I don't know. I can't remember what the reasoning was, but Bill Shimko said it was not legal what we did. And that's how we financed the Baker Street storm sewers, was with that fee, matched with CDBG. Do you know, Mike, anything about that?
You talk about how would the fees be implemented?
Would they be legal? If they weren't legal for that, or I don't care if they on something like that, but I'm just saying, is there any legalities to that?
What section are you looking at? Just make sure I'm looking at the same.
It's to, well, I'm just saying he wanted a new development set aside. I guess that's my, what, add an ordinance requiring a new land development to set aside facilities or contributions to a fee. I guess that's what I was worried about, was the fee.
For recreation facilities.
Yeah,
And a fee in lieu of.
because we had one for storm sewers, for storm sewers.
Yeah, well, we just had a long discussion about that downstairs.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the legality, the implementation of it, how do we address what, how does that actually go in the nuts and bolts is again a very, very detailed analysis. This is again in a comprehensive plan being the 20,000 foot view of the community, that this community does not regulate development to promote recreational development within the residential and commercial facilities that are there.
Okay.
So the ordinance lacks the ability to incentivize developers to contribute or construct
Okay.
recreational facilities within the borough. So this, in this analysis here by Paschik, is opening up the conversation within the comprehensive plan of how, in the growth of this community, with the population that comes into it, with these new developments, how do you meet the demand for recreation? And I think that is something that is a larger conversation than just how do we implement a fee.
Okay.
It's larger than that.
All right. That's all the questions I had, so.
And I will say, some of the stuff that we're going through with the ordinance committee with Tom, Kevin, and Alvy on right now, that this comprehensive plan is starting to, these are some of the things in the ordinance that we're trying to keep in mind for, what is left as far as developable space or redevelopable space within the borough to be concurrent with current regulations and also with the trend of development that's happening here in the borough, because this borough is still developing. So I think reviewing these high-level comprehensive plan issues that we have here, and then making that into trajectory is also going to also influence some of the ordinance decisions we have moving forward. So when the ordinance committee comes through and we have our recommendations of where the committee wants to be, we'll be presenting that as well, but also in concurrent with what we're looking at here is what are the influences and what are the things for the future of this community that need to be considered. So I just want to put that out there too, because we are talking about the ordinance updates that happen on a monthly basis with the committee that's going through right now.
What about viability of businesses coming into the borough? I mean, right now, I don't know of any business in the time that I've been here that comes into the borough, coming into the borough.
So I think that was an important part of the comprehensive plan, was also starting the committee that's opened up right now. And I don't know if Kevin, if you want to speak to that at all. I mean, that's something that's ongoing as far as economic development and promoting business within it, but also keeping in mind, the constraints of the ordinance. The ordinance is you have the state requirements, and there is a minimum that needs to be met, and we don't want to be overbearing, because we can always have more stringent ordinance than what's the minimum. I think with the influence that we've seen in development in the borough, it's primarily residential driven at this point. So I think pushing for, a big section in here is open the borough for business, and how can the comprehensive plan push that in the right way with also the legality of the subdivision and land development ordinances, and also modifications to what the new zoning ordinance have as well.
Well, I know that we developed the business park up here, Century 3 Business Park, when they came in. We did that with LERTA tax financing. And the owner of the park, the business park, did not want to see it become used car lots. He really wanted it to be a quality development. So it develops sort of. We have Bob Plastics up there has like 3 buildings. They're a major employer. That's sort of what you would want, that sort of thing. Bob Plastics, not I mean, you could say I want business and used car lots, we'd be like
Yeah,
51.
no.
You know, we could have all
Yeah,
those we want,
yes.
you know,
Sustainable businesses that employ people within the community.
that pay a living
Yes.
wage.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the Economic Development Committee, been meeting, we just had an update last week with them, that they presented to a couple of us from council on their ideas, as well as in a joint meeting with the school district, so they're trying to think outside the box, because again, you know, everybody, doing a sidebar, everyone, you know, looking at, so we need, businesses all here. You know, restaurants, all that, they're looking, you know, from that side too, even from the mixed development for residential. I still don't think we totally left COVID yet. Because in, you know, if you drive, even, I was out Upper St. Clair a couple weeks ago for a couple things. And just using an example, Xfinity left that shopping plaza that's across from Whole Foods. And they now have a smaller place in South Hills Village. That spot they have there in that area is still not used.
Yeah.
I look at El Rama Tavern, they're very, you know, not necessarily Jefferson Hills, but a lot of Jefferson Hills residents go there. And they've been doing a tremendous job recovering and doing a great job doing stuff, but I don't know if they actually got enough of the workers they needed to maintain the demand that was going through.
So they don't have enough what?
I don't know,
Workers.
it's just my own view and all that, I don't know if they got enough of the workers they need to maintain
Oh,
everything that's
okay.
going on.
Yeah, right.
Because again, the workforce.
Okay.
And as you go through, you know, through the south side, there's a couple more restaurants that have not been brought back. You're still seeing a lot of, I'll just use the term plywood on some of the brick and mortar. So, you know, as I look at everything, you know, Jefferson Hills, we're in competition with all the other boroughs.
Right.
So, and even back in the day when Century 3 was flourishing, whatever reason, the marketing of the high marketing firms and all that still thought of us at the lower end. Because the Kaufmans in Century 3 will not have the higher end clothes that will be in South Hills Village.
Yeah.
So again, there's that perception out there that we may not be as free with the cash or something like that, that perception's got to change. Because if something's coming in here, they got to make sure they're getting that draw of the money from Upper St. Clair to Belver and Rostraver is going to come to this point to maintain that. So again, how do we also change that perspective out there? You know, where Jefferson Hills come grow with us, and that you can survive here and flourish here also.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not just build it, you know, brick and mortar is, now, we got, you know, the way I look at it, it's a huge amount of changes that has to be done. But that's what we've started with.
Well, we made changes couple years ago when we redid the zoning to try to make it more attractive for businesses to come in. And this just is an offshoot. I guess my concern ultimately was when we talk about fees and things like that, making it less attractive to come here. And it's already less attractive for whatever reason. And maybe we don't have and this is just an estimation on my part, maybe we don't have the land space necessary for some of the larger companies, like that's in an area that they could utilize, that's accessible to, maybe not Route 51, but the Turnpike and that sort of thing. So I do know that those also hinder this area. So that was ultimately my concern when you talk about fees and things. I wholeheartedly agree that there needs to be more, from a residential standpoint, more facilities, options for people to do from a recreation standpoint, because really, there isn't much in Jefferson Hills. So any way that we could facilitate that is a good thing. It's just that when I hear terms like, well, if we add a fee to this and a fee to that, the reality is most of the time those fees are taken in, but not utilized to how they were designed to be utilized. You know, as an example, like if we put up something where from the standpoint of a recreation standpoint, if we take money in for that, money should specifically be used for the recreation, not just, well, we have a shortfall here, so I'll just take the money, but next year I'll make up for it. That's my concern when I hear terms like fees, because generally speaking, that's what tends to happen.
I know back in the day when when Century 3 was booming.
Yeah.
There was no water on 51. That was the big problem. It stopped, I guess, I don't know, but like down, like where Lincoln Center and that, there was no water in there, just sewage. So nobody wanted to build down there because they had no city water. Now there is, but Century 3 is gone and all that's gone. But with the advent of Amazon and all that, it sort of eliminated all that. It changed everything. So I think as far as economic development, you should look at what things we have that nobody else has. We have a river, we have a railroad, all down there, and down on that part of the borough.
Florif is great.
And there's a lot of empty space down there. That's where I don't say I would want to put a boat yard or a marina down there. I don't think that's a big selling thing.
I
But
know the federal government would be easier with money when we turn over a brownfield site. To
yeah,
make it usable.
yeah, right. And there's a lot of them down there. So
No, that's, because as I told many other folks is, the most important thing the borough has is what we don't own. And that's still all the green area.
right.
So we gotta be very conscientious of how we can help guide the development of the green area that we don't own. That still makes Jefferson Hills valuable and desirable here in the future, because again, the biggest thing I look at, particularly from our committee here, our council, planning commission, and what we're doing in Saldo, and again with the comprehensive plan, is not only, how do we make the next development come here, but again, how do we balance everything in regards to our infrastructure of creating the recreational business and everything else in a balance, so that not the second homeowner of the house, but the third owner of the house wants to come to Jefferson over, say, forward starts getting developed because of the next greenfield site of farms being turned over. So that's where I look at, my long-term look at is everything is, we're already in competition with everything, but we gotta make sure what we're deciding today is good for 10, 20 years ago when we're in competition.
I think our biggest competition probably be Union because of their tax rate is lower. It's Washington County. So they will, if they ever get some of their issues dealt with in Union, that probably is where it'll go.
Or
Because-
we just find a way to take a red marker and move it up like 2 inches on the map and we become part of Washington.
Well, that would change things dramatically.
The mouse war.
It would. Yeah. It would.
That would help.
That will not happen.
Oh, you never know in today's world.
Well, I do things like this. I don't, my lifetime anyways.
The draft plan, the larger document that's coming together, has a lot of analysis and mapping. If there's anything specific you think it would be helpful to have included in that regard, please let me know. Don't have to decide right now, but you can send me an email.
All right.
When would we be able to see the full draft, Jenny?
So I believe we're planning to have a similar conversation with council. Council has received this set of draft recommendations for consideration. I want to make sure that council is generally comfortable with what's contained in that draft. And at that point, the draft is pretty far along, so we'll be able to release it pretty quickly thereafter. That will come, there are some procedural options here. For plan adoption, my recommendation would be that Planning Commission reviews that full document, makes a recommendation to council, and then we take it back to the public for review and comment. The county gets a crack at reviewing it for 45 days, along with the school district and your neighboring municipalities. And then the final steps prior to adoption would be a council public hearing. So that's advertised, and everybody has a chance at that point to comment on the plan once more before it's considered for adoption.
Any other comments?
Well, I have one. I think,
Okay.
and I bet, I would be willing to bet that, I was on recreation when we had an authority for many, many years. There's grants available. There's money available for not only recreation, but a lot of the items in here. But you just have to go out and actively search it out and try to get it and apply for it.
Well, that's one of the things that we've been working on for this comprehensive plan in the background, at least as it relates to parks, as, improvements to our parks and recreational facilities was identified early on as a big need. And it's been a big need in here in the community for a while. So one of the things we've been working on is trying to get a actual plan, like sort of like a master plan of here's your projects, here's your costs, things like that. That way you have a list that's prioritized so that you can go out and seek the funding like you're talking about. In the past, it came up as, hey, there's a grant, we should apply for it. But then you're not prepared, you don't have a cost estimate, you don't have a plan or anything like that. So we've put a lot of effort over the last couple of years to try and come up with a comprehensive list of projects and improvements we want to see happen in the community. And then once we sort of identify which ones are the most important, we'll be able to now start targeting those grants more effectively than we have in the past.
Exactly. Because that's what a lot of the communities do. They got the top-notch facilities. They go after the money.
I know colleges tend to have someone specifically in mind to harvest grants. Does the borough have anyone that, whose not sole purpose, but whose part of their job responsibility is going through, trying to find grants, and then the whole process of filling out the paperwork and all the way towards completion? Do we have anyone like that?
Well, in the past, we would occasionally work with Gateway on grants. When I came on with the borough about 8 years ago, I did a lot of grant applications myself. But we've been, as of earlier this year, we actually are working with a third-party consultant that's helping us write these grants. So I'll actually be giving a summary at the November meetings about the grants we've applied for this year and what grants we've gotten over the last 5 or 10 years. And but yeah, so we're making a much more now that we have a better list of projects, we're going after a lot more grants. And then the grant opportunities come in too. So obviously the guy we're working with, he's aware of all the grants that come in and out there.
Yeah.
But like Gateway sends out an e-blast to all their clients every couple months of, hey, here's the grants, deadlines, things like that. We get from our representatives' offices, they'll send us a list. So there's a lot of outreach but I mean it is a lot of time. Even working with the grant writer this year, even though they're doing a lot of the work, there's still drawings and cost estimates and resolutions and work that we have to do on the borough's end. So it's a tremendous amount of work to apply for all these grants. But I think the more you throw out there, the more opportunities, more applications you make, the more opportunities you have to get that funding. So.
And it makes sense having a cost estimate completed before you apply for a grant, simply because then the organization that owns the grant, well, why am I going to give you money if you don't know if it's going to go all the way through completion?
Correct. Yeah. Having a defined scope and cost estimate is big, and those are things you don't develop in a week. Generally, there's some discussions and things like that you have to happen, site visits and so forth. So that's why we've been working to have those. Because, like I said, in the past, it was, hey, this grant's due in 3 weeks. Can we apply for it? And it's like, well, we don't know what we're applying for. So then, so now the time you need to do the grant application, you're spending just trying to come up with that scope and the cost estimate. So, this year was I'm pretty pleased with what we've done so far this year, and I think there's definitely some more room for improvement, and hopefully we'll start seeing the return from that effort here next year.
Yeah.
From the council, we approved that early spring to bring that expertise in and offload all the workload off of Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a borough, that's one thing we're all tacking on that side to help on that. And again, with our current representatives of Andrew Kuzma and Senator Robinson help also, because they are friendly to the borough. You could also, just saying this point is, a few years back, we had these 3 businesses burned down. And today, they're still empty lots. And that's back to, with the restrictions we have as a government form, what else can we do to provide incentives for someone to develop that? Back to, again, a couple more restaurants and all too. And again, restaurants have been hit the hardest after COVID. But, and a lot of us have said we all have a dollar bill in our hand. not spending a dollar bill in Jefferson. Someone else is getting our dollar bill, so, you know, how do we reach out to the businesses, and as part of the economic development group and all that, understanding it, saying the same speech is, we have money to spend here. Bring some here that we can give the money to. Just can't happen fast enough.
Chris, in regard to your comment about the fees for recreation, in the subdivisional land development ordinance we're working on, it does specify it's a separate account for the recreation fees, and they can only be used for that. Of course, we're working on this, but
Yeah.
this is the intent.
And I go either way with regard to fees, but if we have a fee, I'm very much in favor of utilizing the fee as it is intended to be,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, you're in line with, this is in line with what you're thinking
Yeah.
of, so.
I don't want to
A
shut
lot of good
everybody
work,
off.
Thank you, appreciate
a
it.
lot of good work.
We're excited to release the larger draft, so you'll see all the images and the mapping and kind of the rationale and context behind some of this. But it's helpful to have direction before we finalize that document, so I appreciate the conversation and the good insight.
And that's kind of the value too, is, you know, when you started having the changes, that SALDO would happen at the same time comprehensive plan, so that's where a lot of that was trying to match what we're working inside on the SALDO to fit also with the comprehensive plan, so it's both of them moving forward together.
Well, entertain a motion to adjourn. We don't have anything else. Let's make that, well, Perez isn't here, so.